Back in India, our organization has been working very extensively on energy efficiency and solar energy for a very long time. Of course, almost 30 years. So that time it was not, directly linked to climate change and mitigation, but then that is actually what we have been doing. And that was the route through which we came into the climate change negotiation process. So here we have been, as part of the Women and Gender constituency, we have been actively working with various other women's groups to work out a position for the constituency and do lobbying and advocacy for promoting our position. So since Lima, through Geneva and Bonn meetings, ADPs, our group has been working very hard to go through the text very meticulously and see where we can make it more gender friendly, gender responsive, and reflecting the gender equality. So that is what we have been doing as part of the women and gender constituency.
How do you find gender issues in regards to the diversity of women issues around the world? How does climate change and the UNFCCC deal with that kind of diversity, developing versus developed, and other situations?
No, there are, if you see the situation around the globe, the problems that women face in different countries across the globe may be different. But then climate change is a cross-cutting problem which affects every right that a woman enjoys. For example, the right to education in India, we had a long fight to gain 100% education, the right to education for girls. But then now, because of climate change, that even that right is being taken away from them, and right to good health. So all these rights are just remain on paper when climate change effects start impacting them, and then we see that many hard-won rights are being reduced or taken away.
So what is your opinion of the road in climate change? What is the direction we are taking, and what do you expect to come out of COP21?
Yes, COP21, we are of course very optimistic. We expect a very just and gender friendly agreement to come out of the COP, and we have made a list of key demands from COP which we have been advocating and lobbying for with different delegations. The first one is, of course, that governments must commit to keep global warming under 1.5. And then the agreement must ensure that all climate actions respect, protect, promote and fulfill human rights, gender equality, the rights of indigenous people, intergenerational equity, a just transition and decent work, food security and resilient ecosystems. Then we also feel that developed countries must do their fair share in tune with the principles of the convention, namely CBDR, equity and CBDR, and they must do their fair share to bridge the gap.
Okay, just the last part, the CBDR.
We also feel that developed countries must do their fair share by taking the lead to close the emission gaps in terms of the INDCs that have already been submitted, and then the whole agreement must be in line with the principles of the convention, equity and CBDR. Then governments have to work very sincerely with wide-ranging ambition for pre-20 under work stream 2. Then we don't accept terms such as net zero and net carbon neutrality, which takes into account offsetting and unsafe technology solutions. So we are not in favor of net zero or carbon neutrality. And then the long-term global goal must be, of course, to phase out dangerous fossil fuels and phase in 100% renewables. But it must also encourage structural and lifestyle changes. Unless we do that, this is not going to work out. Then all the approaches must be gender responsive, participatory and fully transparent. Then we also demand that there must be a standalone section on loss and damage, And even the finance that comes in, there must be separate financing for loss to address loss and damage. In addition to finance for mitigation and adaptation, there must be finance to deal with loss and damage. And again here we feel that countries must give clearly defined new and additional predictable finance to developing countries. It has to be predictable, otherwise the countries won't be able to plan their strategies. Then of course, as regards the public participation, we feel that it has to be the implementation also, including implementation, it has to be inclusive and transparent, and civil society must be given a role in the decision making that takes place with regard to any climate action anywhere in the world.
And on the ground, do women have access to finances, to climate financing? Is that easy for women to access in order to?
No, if you are talking from the grassroots level,
Yes.
I would say that it is still not very easy. But one encouraging fact has been that in the Green Climate Fund, they have made gender a very important component of the financing. So we hope that will make it easier for women to get financing down the line at the grassroots.